All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
And here we are for another episode of Toxic Masculinity. Yes, I know that I don't have Dapper Don Fry here with me right now, but I got another man. I got a bearded individual here right now, not just someone that has a big old bushy mustache on to him. Yeah, and he's nowhere near as cantankerous as Don the Predator Fry is. So, but we got Ryan Blackwell. Ryan has got a fantastic story to tell you about bravery, about service, about putting others before himself, including his own life in the process. I will never be able to do the justice of all aspects, but Ryan also touches my heart in different ways. Not only is he a patriot, he's a hero, but he's also a wrestler. And Tony, you know how I feel about the people that are about the sport of wrestling, and especially amateur wrestling. I'm not talking about professional wrestling here right now. We're talking about amateur wrestling. And amateur wrestling teaches a lot of great life skills and attributes that will carry you on in your life. But without really further ado, we got Ryan here right now. Ryan, please set the stage as to what happened that day. And I'm going to probably interrupt you at different points in time and just go, what was going through your mind at this or that?
Yeah. So on the morning of December 6th, leave my house. I arrived at work 5:30 in the morning. Sitting there in my office. My job for that day was to muster all of the Saudi flight students that were in our program. So muster means they come in, they report to you, you do a quick head count, kind of like an attendance roll, and they carry on with what their duties are for the day. So that morning, I'm at work at 5:30 in the morning. I'm on the computer. Guys are coming in. There not as many are coming in this morning. A lot of them are calling in saying, like they had flights or they had tests. And there was actually 2 that did come in that morning to check in with me. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting them checked in, and another flight student in a green flight suit walks by my office, and the door's open at this time. And he just looks in and smiles, and I just say good morning, and he just keeps on walking. He had a green bag in his hand. So remember that character, because that guy walked by while I was there was 2 people checking in with me that morning.
Okay.
So after that, my coworkers are now there's 2 other people that were working in my office that morning with me, a male and a female, and they were in the office at that time too. We had one more student come in, he checked in, and then he left. And as soon as he left, I'm sitting behind a desk. There's like some seats to my left where the male that was working with me is sitting, and then the female was kind of in a desk right in front of me around a circle table. As they're walking in, the office is about 16 by 16, rough estimate on just a dimension, small little square office. So we're sitting there after that last student checks in with us, and then all of a sudden I hear a gunshot go off, and it sounded like if somebody dropped a stack of books, or something. It's really loud, and there's not a lot of people there. This is around like 6:40 ish in the morning, 6:45 ish, somewhere around that time frame. We hear the first gunshot go off, and I stand up, and then the 2 people in my office stand up, and they kind of look back at me. And I hear multiple gunshots going off, and I start hearing people fighting and screaming. And I told one of the guys I was sitting closest to the door, I said, hey, close the door, turn off the light, take cover behind the desk. And the female that was in there, that's what I said, take cover, call 911, report an active shooter. And then what I did, I got on my phone, and I called my office supervisor. And I had told him, I said, sir, he was on his way to work that morning. I said, sir, don't enter the building. There's an active shooter. And at that moment, he had told me, he said, get out of the office, is what he said. And so the little bit of way how the office is situated, there's one door coming off the hallway, and it's like a glass pane. So it's like half of it's wood, half of it going up is glass. And we had a keypad on the outside. So that's the only way. You can't just open the door to come in. You have to know the code to come into the office, but there's glass there. And then on the back of the office, there's 2 windows. So we're taking cover behind the desk. I'm on the phone. I call Captain Whitlock. I tell him, I said, sir, don't enter the building action. And he says, get out. And then as he says that, I hear a gunshot go off, and I didn't really hear it as much as I felt it. and the guy shot the glass out of the door, and he struck me in my arm, my right arm, the arm that I was holding the phone with. So I dropped the phone and I just rotated counterclockwise towards the female who was positioned behind me. And I took one off the side of my ribs, and I took two more that came into my back while I was covering her. One went to my right calf, and another one went to my left foot. And the two that went to my back, I was crouching down. The one was about slightly to the right of my spine, and that one came at a downward angle when it came out of my inside of my thigh, and it hit her in the calf. And then I had one that came in through the left side of my back, and it hit my pelvis and came out the left side of my hip. And I at that moment I just like kind of fell to my side. After like I turned, I took like he ended up having a Glock 45 9mm with
That was I didn't want to
what kind of weapon was it,
yeah,
right?
trying to what kind of weapon to know how many rounds he had.
Right.
Like
So
that.
that's it. That's the interesting thing too, because he had a Glock 45, which was a 9mm, but he had extended magazines in it. So it had 14 rounds in the magazine. So he kind of was pinpointed in my direction. I got shot 6 times. One of the bullets that came out of my leg hit the female who I was covering, and she ended up getting a flesh wound. And then the guy on the other side of the office, he ended up, I'm not sure how many rounds he took, but he took a good portion. He ended up breaking his leg and had some other things happen to him. And so I had, as this was transpiring, I just remember falling to my side because I don't have a weapon. I don't have anything at this point. All we have is just like pressed like furniture, like we're sitting right in front of now.
Yeah, you're gonna say you're a desk environment.
Yeah, it was.
Office environment.
We're probably 10 feet away from the door when he shot us. About 10 feet away, 10 or 12. In between, I'd say more or less. But so as I fell over, kind of as I was coming around, I kind of just fell because I just took like a bunch of impact. I ended up started covering my head, and I just remember going through my brain, it was just like, don't get hit in the head, don't get hit in the head. Like for some reason, that's just what kept triggering in my brain. And then all of a sudden, it was a little bit of the fear of like, I don't want to die. And then like, okay, I guess we're about to find out what happens. I kind of accepted what my fate was. And I had the impression the guy had like a rifle, and there's multiple shooters because I didn't really get to see anything. And it was just overwhelming gunfire is just what happened. And then I ended up, right as I was kind of like fading a little bit, my phone was going Blackwell, Blackwell. And it was the call that I had made to my captain. He was on the phone call during the whole duration of the shooting. And he made me snap back in like third period. Like I getting my mind right, like Blackwell, get your head off the mat, let's go.
That's an amateur wrestling reference right there, just to understand that there. So okay, yeah, it's good. I understood exactly what you're saying, but like a lot of the people that when they get a chance to view this, what does that mean right there? But it's an amateur wrestling because there's 3 periods, and third period you got to suck it up. So
yeah, so that's kind of like, for some reason I like kind of tapped back into like, I guess I wasn't thinking about wrestling, but it's like the mindset, the fight or flight mindset, the survival mindset. And I had scrambled to my phone, and this happens really fast as I explain it, but I'm on the phone. I look at the girl. She tells me, she's like, I've been hitting a calf. I look over to my right at the gentleman, and he's just screaming agonizing pain. And I look to the door, and I don't see anybody at the door. And so I do that quick visual scan, and I'm on the phone. And I say, sir, we've all been hit, and I'm going to get us out. I'm going to call you back. And so I put my phone, after that, I put my phone in my pocket. I got up, and I just ran to the window in the back of the office. I only thought I got hit twice. I felt my arm. I couldn't, like, my whole arm was paralyzed. I couldn't use my right arm. I didn't know it was that bad. It was just like, I could hear how bad it was ringing. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it just hurt. And then I felt like I had a giant hole in my leg, which was the exit hole that came out of the inside of my thigh. And so I just got up, I ran to the window, and there was an AC unit in the window. So I used my left hand, I unlocked the top of the window. And then as I removed the AC unit, the whole window slid down to the bottom. And I couldn't get my fingers under the lip because I only had one arm, and I'm trying to get this window up, and my back's to the door. And I don't know how many shooters, or if he's coming back, or what's going on. I just felt like a huge sense of like, this is my moment. You know what I mean? If I'm going to get out of here, this is where it's going to happen. And I kind of, as it slid down, I went back into like a panic mode in a sense, like, but I didn't show the panic. I didn't say it when I was talking. It was like, I felt the panic, but I kind of channeled it to like, okay, I was like, figure it out. In seconds, I was like, get up, get up, get up. That's what I was telling the other two. I need help at the window. So it slid down. They all come over and we get the window up together. So I ripped out the AC unit, slides down. I'm kind of freaking out for a second, you know, but it's fractions of seconds. They run up. The other guy comes over to, even with the broken leg, he came over. We get the window up. I dove out the window first because I was right in the middle of the group, and I landed in some bushes. It was probably like a 5-foot drop. Maybe it wasn't too bad. It was a raised first level building. It was multiple stories, but we were on the first level. And the other gentleman, he with the broken leg, he came out next, and then the female came out that had the flesh wound on her calf. And
Were you like each one as you got outside, just
was helping the next one out? It's kind of what we were doing. So I got out and I helped him out, and then like she was helping put him out. Then she got out, and then all I remember seeing was 3 guys across the street at it. It was like it's what's called the Navy Yard Eatery, and it was kind of like a gas station where you get a sandwich or a little cafeteria style hot bar in there and whatnot. And I saw 3 guys there, and I took the gentleman with the broken leg with me. The female thought that she heard him coming back into our office, so she went to the left and went down the side of the building to take care of that way, where I took the guy because I saw help and ran about a 50-yard sprint to another building with the other gentleman with me. And as soon
I mean, you were hit how many times?
6
times, and you're running, but I almost a sprinter right now.
Yeah, I was fight or flight, you know, and then
I understand that, but I've never been hit 6 times like that in the process. I make
well, like I said, I only thought it was 2, and it just felt like it was like more of my right side of my body. But I had it spread throughout my body. It's just more of the pain was coming from the right side.
But I imagine the adrenaline that was kicking through you big time.
Yeah, if they could bottle that up and sell it, you'd have everybody on the corner with it. I'll tell you what, like it was just something I've never experienced before, that rush, you know, and it was literally, don't mess this up because there's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. And that's why I felt the need to take things into my own hands. You could have stood there, waited. He might have came back. We might have been gunned down again, or we might have bled out, or we might have gotten help and found it. But like, I didn't want to sit around for the or moments. I wanted to create my own destiny. And if it was getting shot again, getting out of the office, at least I went out with a valiant effort.
Yes.
You know, I didn't just sit down there.
You plotted your own course.
Right. And so once we got to the other building right across, I was telling the guys, active shooter, get in the building. You know, we've been shot. And we get inside. As soon as we get to the door, it's all glass in their lobby. And I'm saying, hey, everybody needs to, I said, secure the building. I said, and head to the kitchen. I told everybody get in the kitchen. Well, as soon as we walked in, the guy I was with collapsed on the floor. I got him in the building. He collapsed on the floor. So I was telling him, I was like, get him towels. I was like, get him up, get him towels. I was like, pressure his wounds. And I said, I need to catch my breath real quick is what I told him. And so I pulled my phone out and I called my wife. And we had just got married in March, and the shooting is December. So we haven't even been married that long. I just called her. I just said, hey, she didn't believe me at first. I just left the house and she was getting ready for work. And I was like, no, I was like, hey, I just got shot. I'm in bad shape. I was trying to get myself to the hospital. I just want to call and tell you I love you. And I want you to call my family and tell them that I love them and what's going on. And
because again, those are like almost like parting words because you don't know if you ever going to speak to again. Wow.
No clue, but I knew like I wanted to get that call off real quick before I went back to work, essentially, you know, like I wanted.
Was your wife, was she in the military also?
No, so she's actually a 2nd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So she has a combatives background, which is pretty cool. But she's local to the area here, and so that's how we met.
Okay, I didn't know. I mean, a lot of times
and just having that combative, like me being a wrestler, her like in Taekwondo and striking and kicking, it kind of just like meshed together well.
I think Taekwondo was actually, I think, the #1 biggest martial art in the United States. I do believe it is, that there's more Taekwondo studios than anything else. Again, I'm not trying to digress.
No,
let's get back to,
definitely.
I mean, because you just made this phone call knowing that these could be the final words your wife ever hears from you.
Right. And it got to the point where like I'm telling her this and she's like, what are you talking about, Ryan? You just left the house. And I was like, I just remember saying I don't have time for this. And I gave the phone to one of the kitchen workers. And I said, you have to tell her what's going on.
What's going on?
Because
they still take care of matters.
Yeah, by that time they had brought me some towels and stuff, some rags. So I was holding it on my arm because when I got out of the building, I elevated the arm on top of my head to keep the blood, you know, from just draining out. And so I just started holding the wound, and she's on the phone. She believed it, whatever. Got my phone back, and I'm telling them, I'm like, okay, now I need a ride. That's what I was like. I need a ride to the hosptal. And they're like, oh, you can't leave, you know. So I was like, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, like I'm getting a ride right now, I'm leaving. So I go back and I call Captain Whitlock, and he's like, I'm on my way. He was already en route to where I was at. So I gave him directions, like can't go down Chambers, you know, that's where the active shooter situation, that you got to come on this backside and come, I'll be on the corner of this building. And he's like, all right, I'll meet you there. And so all I have to do is get through this building, through the back of it, to get to the ride. So as we got up, get Johnson up, and we're walking through the building, and it was like cut and weight. My vision went black. Like I was so lightheaded walking. You know, like I was trying to feel for a wall so my vision can come back in. Like I'm really lightheaded and I'm bleeding out. And I just remember them saying, like, you're bleeding out, you're bleeding out. And that was the moment where I really got scared again, because there's little checkpoints all throughout this, like, you know, jumping out the window, getting to the Navy Yard Eatery, being able to, you know, like get established a ride, you know, and all that. So as I'm walking the next, I kind of like went to this freak out mode again, where I had to actually verbally like talk to myself, like a lot of self-talk. But I actually had to like out loud right now, like talk and hype myself up, because I was going out. And then I just sat down. They told me sit down, so I sat down and I kicked my shoes up and I could start seeing again. And then I just remember seeing my
kick shoes, elevated,
yeah, elevated my legs. So it was like helped me kind of bounce out or whatever happened. And then I just remember looking at my bootlaces, and I was like, give me a knife, I need a tourniquet. I was going to cut out my bootlaces. And then I just remembered something said belt, like someone just triggered belt, and I had a rigger's belt on, which is like kind of loop it through, fasten it back through. So I was like, I'm getting my belt off. So we got my belt off, and I looped it around my arm, and I made a tourniquet with my belt. And I went back, I levered it behind my neck, elevated my arm, and just pulled down as hard as I could. And then just to cinch it real tight. And I left it there, pulled the foam back out. And I told Cam, like I said, we're coming out now.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.